All right, let's get right into it. For decades, India's banking sector was like a fortress, super controlled and pretty much off limits to the rest of the world. But right now, something's completely flipped. We're witnessing a kind of gold rush, with global money just pouring into the country's financial system. So, what's really behind this great Indian bank rush? Let's break it down.
And really, that's the heart of the story here. A sector that was famously one of the most protected on the planet has basically thrown open the doors and put up a giant open for business sign. And believe me, international investors are lining up. So to really get what's happening, let's first just talk about the sheer scale of this. I mean, we're not talking about a little trickle of investment. We are talking about a genuine flood of foreign cash. And look, this isn't just one or two random deals. We're seeing huge banks from Dubai and Japan, private equity giants like Blackstone out of the US, top-tier insurance companies from Switzerland, and even sovereign wealth funds from the UAE. It's a truly global vote of confidence, and it signals this massive, broad-based belief in where India's financial future is headed. This shift is, well, it's monumental. For the longest time, Indian banking was all about state-owned institutions and really cautious conservative rules. So this wave of investment, it isn't just a trend, it's a historic pivot. Which, of course, begs the big question. Why? Why is all of this happening right now? All right, let's get into the core of it. Why India and why now? What are all the different forces coming together that are driving this investment boom? Okay, so a huge piece of this puzzle is just a massive shift in policy. The old reality was a tightly protected sector mostly run by public banks. The new reality, we're talking relaxed ownership rules and a much more welcoming stance from the Reserve Bank of India. For instance, foreign ownership in insurance can now go all the way up to 100%, and in private banks, up to 74%. That is a complete and total game changer. But it's not just about the rules changing. The economic fundamentals are just ridiculously strong. You've got massive credit demand from small businesses and regular consumers, a financial market that's expanding like crazy, and a world-class digital infrastructure. I mean, just think about the UPI payment system that's completely changed life for hundreds of millions. Throw in political stability and a population that's consuming more, and you've got the perfect recipe for a place investors just can't resist. And if you need just one number to really wrap your head around the scale of the opportunity, this is it: 400 million. That's how many people in India are still considered underbanked. For these global financial giants who are facing totally saturated markets back home, this isn't just another market. It's a continent of untapped growth potential. This quote from analysts really just nails India's strategy perfectly. The country is basically saying, our doors are open, the capital is welcome, but it's on our terms. The whole idea is to bring in the investment while making absolutely sure that control and compliance stay firmly under Indian regulation. It's about keeping the system safe from any potential global shocks. And then, of course, you have to look at the global picture. Let's be real. With all the geopolitical tension in the world and the financial system in China tightening up, global capital is actively looking for a new, stable, high-growth home. And right now, India has emerged as that natural choice. It offers a way to diversify away from risk and has massive profit potential, all in one package. Okay, so we've talked about the why. Now let's get into the who. Who are these actual giants placing these massive, multi-billion-dollar bets on India's future? And the list of who's jumping in? It's a who's who, really. You've got Emirates NBD from the UAE trying to acquire a 60% stake in RBL Bank. Zurich Insurance is taking a 70% majority stake in Kotak General Insurance. Japan's SMBC is pouring over $1.5 billion into Yes Bank. And the US private equity firm Blackstone is taking a nearly 10% slice of Federal Bank. These aren't small flyers. These are huge, strategic, long-term moves. So you might be asking, why buy instead of building something new from scratch? Well, it's pretty straightforward. It's the ultimate shortcut. A lot of these Indian financial companies are available at pretty good valuations. So for a global player, buying a stake means you instantly get access to millions of customers, all the necessary licenses, and huge branch networks that would otherwise take you decades and billions of dollars to build yourself. Now, this all sounds incredibly positive, and it is a massive vote of confidence in the Indian economy. But as with any major change like this, there's always a catch. So let's flip the coin and take a look at the other side, the potential risks involved. Because with big money, you get big risks. First, there's the worry that strategic control could slowly shift overseas, with major decisions being made that might not always be in India's best interest. Second, it makes the whole financial system more vulnerable to global shocks. And third, it could create an uneven playing field where these global firms with deep pockets and access to cheaper money could end up pushing out homegrown players.
And this isn't just some abstract theoretical risk. We have a very clear lesson from the not-so-distant past. Remember when Lehman Brothers collapsed back in 2008? It kicked off a global crisis. Now, India was mostly insulated back then, but the tremors were definitely felt. More foreign ownership means the next big global shock could potentially hit a whole lot harder.
But don't think for a second that India's regulators are just sitting on their hands. The Reserve Bank of India and the markets regulator, SEBI, are being extremely proactive. They're demanding more due diligence, crystal clear ownership disclosures, and strict compliance with all the domestic rules. At the end of the day, the final say on any of these deals remains firmly with them. So when you put all of these pieces together, the incredible opportunity, the massive investment, and the very real risks, what you're really looking at is a calculated, high-stakes gamble by India. And the stakes, they are absolutely enormous. India has this ambitious goal of becoming a $7 trillion economy by the early 2030s. That kind of explosive growth needs fuel, a lot of fuel, far more than can be generated just from within the country. This foreign investment isn't just a nice bonus, it is the essential fuel for that economic engine. This really is a tightrope walk. The big bet is this. India believes it can skillfully use this flood of foreign money to hit warp speed on its economic growth, all while keeping a firm grip on the steering wheel to make sure the country's financial independence and stability are actually strengthened, not weakened. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. It's a game with enormous rewards, but also very significant risks. Can India actually pull this off? Can it build that massive $7 trillion economy without giving away the keys to its own financial kingdom? Only time will